What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content here on my channel, then make sure you hit the like button and make sure you hit subscribe so you can help decide what direction the content on my channel goes in the foreseeable future. Okay, so we're going to be dangerous here, and we are going to make a video about Ultra Instinct Goku versus Herald of Galactus Hulk. So I feel like we got to break these characters down, right? Like, look at these characters for what they are. So we're going to kick things off with Goku. So Goku, I never really watched Dragon Ball. I always started with Dragon Ball Z, but Goku, throughout Dragon Ball Z, his fighting style always followed a pattern. When it comes to Goku in a battle, it always ends in one of two ways. But when the fight starts, let's take, for example, the character of Raditz. The fight will start with Raditz, and Goku will say, okay, how powerful is this guy in relation to me? And Goku will face off against him. And in the middle of this fight, they'll stop. In the middle of the scuffle, they'll stop. Goku will rest for a second and say, okay, here's what I've learned about this guy. Then Goku will jump back into the conflict again. As Goku jumps back into the conflict, they'll rest again. And Goku will say, okay, here's what else I've learned about that guy. And it'll keep going that way and going that way until one of two things happens. Either Goku realizes he has the power to defeat that opponent, uses everything he learned, and then defeats them, or Goku realizes he does not have the power to defeat that opponent, and then he basically gets aid from some external source. In the case of Raditz, it was Goku basically, it was Piccolo blasting Raditz, with his special beam cannon or whatever it is. I don't remember what the actual Japanese name is, but it's Piccolo blasting Raditz. Goku basically gets a hole blown into him in the process because he's holding Raditz, and then Goku just moves on to the crossroads. Now, when Goku goes on to these crossroads, he comes to a fork in the road. The fork in the road is either you can go on to the afterlife or you can go train. And because Goku says, I'm a protector of the earth, I'm gonna go train because I faced off against Raditz. And Raditz had a level of power that I just wasn't ready for. So I want to be equal to Raditz or more powerful so that if a foe that's equal to Raditz or more powerful comes to earth, I'll be ready for them. This continues on with the arrival of Nappa and Vegeta. Goku eventually comes back, Goku jumps into a fight against Vegeta, and the cycle continues in the exact same fashion. Goku fights Vegeta, they back off. Goku says, here's what I've learned. They jump into the fight again until Goku comes to the realization, either I have enough power to defeat Vegeta or I do not. This led directly into the defeat of Vegeta, more or less, where he was just, took off in his little ship. Goku recovers in a hospital. Bulma and everybody learns about the Dragon Balls on Namek. They chart a mission. Goku follows after them after realizing everything that's going on. His ship goes awry, his gravity well goes nuts, and he's basically training in enhanced gravity. Now, that's kind of a lucky break, but that's how the story goes when you're the star of the show. Goku arrives on Namek, things pop off, but he's far more powerful than he was when he was on Earth. This goes into his escapades with Captain Ginyu and so on and so forth, and then finally we get the fight between Goku and Frieza. The pattern follows the exact same standard. Goku jumps into a fight with Frieza. Goku says, here's what I've learned. Him and Frieza fight again. Goku stops. Here's what I've learned. And then Goku follows into the crossroads again. Either I have enough power to defeat Frieza or I don't have enough power to defeat Frieza. It led to him realizing he doesn't have the power to pull it off on his own. He creates the giant spirit bomb and then it still doesn't work. And that's where things begin to change. And that's where Ultra Instinct, or at least the concept of Ultra Instinct, begins to play this sort of role, in the sense that Goku basically taps into a level of power that he never had before. He becomes a Super Saiyan. He basically wrecks Frieza, leaves Frieza to die on Namek, and then takes off. And then that's where the whole learning process of Goku begins to come in. After every single fight that Goku has, every single conflict that he gets into, whether he lives or dies, his idea is, what did I learn from this? What information did I pull out of this? In the fight with Frieza, he learned two things. One, Frieza was insanely powerful, but Frieza was also a foe that cannot be reasoned with, that cannot be rationalized with. He experienced that with King Piccolo back in the day, and he experienced that with Raditz, but Frieza was of such a level of power that if Frieza had been allowed to run unchecked, then it would have led to all manner of terrible things happening and probably the destruction of the Earth. The second half of this idea was that Goku sat down and said, I became a Super Saiyan during that fight, but while my power was basically fed by my constant rage over what might happen if Frieza's not defeated, over the death of Krillin and all these different things, lives that Frieza had taken over the course of his existence, Goku sat down and said, but what would happen if I'm not upset? What would happen if somebody just shows up on Earth and I'm in the middle of taking a bath and I'm calm and I need to become a Super Saiyan? And that's when it basically dawned on him, if he becomes a Super Saiyan, it saps a massive amount of his power. And so the first step to being able to master that is to just stay a Super Saiyan all the time. This combined with all the other things that he did led to, massive expanses of his power. And then everybody else began to learn the same thing. Vegeta figured that out as well when he became a Super Saiyan. But that's the nature of Goku. But if you look at every single battle he ever fights, whether it's him training with his son Gohan, the fight with Cell, the fight with Majin Buu, it's always the same same thing. Goku jumps into a conflict, Goku analyzes what he's learned, Goku jumps back into the conflict, and then Goku may or may not have the power to defeat that person and does whatever he has to do to win. Ultra Instinct takes that entire concept and turns it on its head. And all the power that he's gained over the years, Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, the Super Saiyan Blue form, all those different powers that he has, it's a linear progression. He faces an enemy, he gets stronger. He faces an enemy, he gets stronger. And while he is a great fighter, it's all predicated on him studying a fighter in the interim between them fighting. Ultra Instinct removes all that. Ultra Instinct basically comes along and it says, under normal circumstances, Goku's fighting against an opponent and he has to analyze their attacks so he can counter them while simultaneously studying his opponent as they fight. But Ultra Instinct removing that basically says he just counterattacks instinctively. And so instead of having to split his thought process between the attacks of the opponent as well as how their body's faring, he can focus exclusively on that opponent. That's the difference. That's the massive difference here, is while it seems subtle on the surface, it's huge. Allow me a little bit of this kind of breakaway for a second. One of the greatest NFL running backs of all time was a guy named Barry Sanders. Why? Because Barry Sanders was interviewed and Barry Sanders basically said the reason why it's like, trying to catch him is like catching smoke is because when there's going to be a play where he's going to run the ball, before the play even starts, he's looking at all these guys on the defensive line and he's looking at where the break will most likely be. So he knows how to get to that defensive line. If a couple of those guys tackle him before they even realize that he's gone, he already knows the tackle's broken. He's like, look, these guys never had me in the first place. And so while they're still trying to tackle him, he's looking to the next guy and the guy after that and the guy after that. And he knows the route he needs to run in order to get to the end zone. He can, adjust his movements. He can kind of change things up on the fly. And sure, he gets tackled. Nobody's perfect, but it's instinctual. It's an ingrained part of who he is. And that's the nature of Ultra Instinct. If Goku can face off against an opponent and instinctively counter their attacks, then he doesn't have to split his mindset between what their attacks are and how they're faring. He can focus exclusively on that opponent in terms of how they're feeling. Are they getting frustrated? Is he basically pushing them to the point where their power is beginning to decrease? He can focus on nuances that he wouldn't normally be able to detect, things that can give him a far grander picture of what that opponent's capable of. Now, Ultra Instinct was a fleeting thing. It was basically a moment in the show that allowed him to go toe-to-toe with Jiren for a brief amount of time. But it basically says where Goku's followed this linear progression on how it is that he's got stronger and stronger over the years and how he fights, it blows the doors off everything and says, actually, if he masters this, there's no limit to what it is that he can achieve or what opponent he can fight. It's kind of like this perfect harmony between mind and body in his fighting style, something that he's always focused on. But this brings into sharp relief the idea of the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk is just a mindless rage machine 99% of the time that we see him. There are two instances where this is not the case, really three if we think about it. The first is Professor Hulk, which is kind of this perfect combination of Green Hulk and Gray Hulk, but the two most prominent versions of the Incredible Hulk are Worldbreaker Hulk and Maestro Hulk. Now, Worldbreaker Hulk is smart for the most part, but he's not strategically smart like Maestro Hulk is. Maestro Hulk is more of a warlord than anything else, but we're not talking about him. We're talking about World War Hulk. World War Hulk is the higher echelon of what the Incredible Hulk is capable of. Heart of the Monster Hulk, I think, is a little bit stronger, but World War Hulk is still a pretty formidable being, so much so that no one on Earth, except for the Sentry, probably the most powerful being on Earth in terms of sheer strength and durability, was able to face off against World War Hulk, and it led to a standstill. Now, when it comes to like Herald of Galactus Hulk, this was basically a story where the Hulk became a Herald of Galactus. We don't really know what he's capable of. We can kind of grab other characters who have been heralds, Silver Surfer, Frankie Ray. We can grab these different heralds and we can say, okay, here's what they were capable of. But the long and short of it is that when a person becomes a Herald of Galactus, their power is amplified. And more often than not, the power they get through Galactus is designed to complement whatever power they already have. And so in the case of like Silver Surfer, he's kind of an exception because he was just a regular guy. But because he was so keen on exploring, he was given the tools that he would need to explore the universe, as well as ensure Galactus would be able to locate planets he needed to sustain his own life energies. But Silver Surfer at his peak was capable of things like time travel. He had strength that rivaled the Incredible Hulk for a time. He could warp reality on a minor scale. There were a lot of things that he could do. But the Incredible Hulk is a being of just infinite strength. And so we would have to believe that whatever abilities he got from Galactus would be designed to amplify that strength, to basically say, instead of his base level strength being down here, his base level strength is now up here. So in his normal form, he's equal to Worldbreaker Hulk, capable of shattering planets. When he's amped up, he's just that much stronger. And so the question becomes, how would you take a person who at his base form can obliterate planets, at his, amped up form could do God knows what, and then turn around and have them face off against Ultra Instinct Goku? My money is on Ultra Instinct Goku. I would really just kind of have to give it to him because Power Cosmic would allow Hulk to do a lot of different things. But if it complements his existing abilities, then he's just going to be really strong. But he's not a thinking machine. He doesn't have the ability to counterattack a person without thinking about it. Goku does that. And so where Ultra Instinct Goku could counter every single attack that the Herald of Galactus Hulk dishes out, while at the same time, he'd be able to basically analyze whether or not Hulk is getting stronger, getting weaker, whatever the case may be, basically break down his body in terms of what it is that he's doing, and then counter even more effectively. Now, if we say Ultra Instinct lasts for like an indefinite amount of time, that Goku's years and years in the future, sure, that would be the case. If it's like we've seen in this fight against Jiren, that is basically just this brief moment, then like Goku would inevitably lose most likely. But even then, there's no guarantee because, Super Saiyan Blue Goku is God level powerful. I mean, it's crazy how powerful he is. And we would maybe argue that with Hulk fighting long enough, that he would probably be able to stand toe to toe against Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but most likely not. It's the Superman effect. Well, who would win? Superman or the Incredible Hulk? Well, right off the bat, Incredible Hulk would lose. But if the fight goes on long enough, the Incredible Hulk would win because his strength has no limit. Superman has a limited amount of strength. So again, it's kind of weird in terms of how that unfolds, but that's just taking the Power Cosmic and applying it to the Incredible Hulk in terms of physical strength. If we in turn were to say that the Incredible Hulk as the Herald of Galactus has all the powers that Silver Surfer has, well then suddenly Ultra Instinct Goku loses, hands down, no questions asked, because now we're not just introducing heightened levels of strength, we're introducing all these different elements that Goku would most likely not be able to counter against. I mean, when it comes to like reality warping, it's hard to gauge that because in Dragon Ball, you don't really see much reality warping. You don't really see a person come along and turn like a candle into a fox. All the extreme levels of power that you see are done for a couple different things: to create energy projections, maybe create holograms or false duplicates. You see them like destroying universes or planets or different things like that. But by and large, it's confined to physical strength. All the power they have translates into how hard can they hit, how fast can they move, how much energy can they shoot. If someone like, Herald of Galactus Hulk has all the powers of the Silver Surfer, then it becomes a reality warping game. Can Goku with Ultra Instinct counterattack the Incredible Hulk, turning him into a rock and throwing him to the other side of the universe? That's where things begin to get crazy, and that's where you basically have questions that there's no answers to. So I don't have an answer to that. If we're talking about sheer strength, just pure strength, a fist-to-fist fight between Ultra Instinct Goku and Herald of Galactus Hulk, then Ultra Instinct Goku wins hands down, just because of the fact that he'd be able to counter everything the Hulk is doing, possibly even before the Incredible Hulk knew that he was going to do, just because of the fact that the Incredible Hulk is not a thinking machine. He's just a fighting machine. But if we're talking about enhanced levels of strength, cosmic awareness, the abilities of the Silver Surfer, reality warping, all those godly abilities that traditionally come with the Power Cosmic, then Herald of Galactus Hulk wins hands down because his abilities, they allow him to do almost anything that Goku wouldn't be able to counterattack just because it'd be so extreme. But I'm kind of curious what you guys think. I mean, I'm waiting on the debunking videos. Surely somebody's going to come along and just be like, actually, nope, I'm going to power scale and, I'm going to cook the books to make sure that, like Hulk wins. I have no idea. But let me know what you guys think because I'm kind of curious about this. Again, I don't really care about confirming opinions. I mean, if you were rooting for Goku and this video, agreed with you, that's awesome. Wasn't really what I was shooting for. Just kind of my idea on who it is that I think would end up winning this. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. But if you guys are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like and I will catch you all later. Peace.